That's an important one. Okay. When we're ready. Okay. This is our agenda for the day, or this meeting here today. All right. PBDG. Okay, who are we? So, Professional Business Development Group. We're a nonprofit trade association. Our primary purpose is to advocate for equity and inclusion in the construction industry. We're proactively supporting, mentoring, providing access in the form of resources for marginalized and unrepresented business owners in the building trade. Next slide, please. What do we do? Okay, that's really small. I apologize. I'm just going to let you guys know. But for online, you can read it. And also for the recording. So we're providing technical assistance in economic development to BIPOC, minority, and women-owned firms working in construction, engineering, architecture. And we are catering to individuals who are seeking to open a business as well. So those are aspiring business owners in that same in the same industry that we are. So a few of our business development offerings, I'll go into a little bit more detail. We have one-on-one business advising. Any aspect of your business, wherever you are, we have advisors to help you develop your business, overcome barriers, talk things out with our experienced advisors. We also hold a lot of trainings and classes. Those of you who are here in person, this is our training center here, but we have multiple different types of classes. We have hybrid, we have in-person, and we also have fully virtual classes available. We have curriculum that's for healthy business. So once again, we're serving the construction specific and related trades there, and we have curriculum for your healthy business in there. Just those, but could be anywhere from accounting to why am I getting stuck on accounting? Accounting to business development within there. We also have construction specific project management curriculums that are also available here. And then, as well as we also have training within, and it might be in my notes, for our specific programming I'm blanking, Carmen. For our software. Thank you. That word was just leaving me. So we have software training as well here, and our training center, as you can see, is equipped with computers. We also have COVID certification assistance, coaching on government contracts and procurement, startup business support. We have advanced mentor facilitation through our mentor protege program. We have capacity building, which is very structured to what your needs are. We even have 10 hours or so of consultants that come in and assist your business in that capacity. We have then you have access to our training center, which is here. We have 16 equipped computers, and with that are chock full of different types of software specific to construction, as well as word processing and you name it. We also have a plotter for those who need to come in and print plans. And then we have our clean energy programming, and I took this one out, but it says developing. So you guys are really at the very beginning of what we're going to explore, what we're going to develop here at PVDG for clean energy. Okay, next slide. Okay, how to join us? Well, join a community of BIPOC, minority, DBE, women-owned firms in creating community, legacy, building generational wealth, sustainable living wage jobs, and stimulating economic prosperity in our region. We have a couple different ways that you can join us. You can become a member. That's for BIPOC, minority, and DBE firms that provide direct or indirect services to the construction industry. We also have clients, which are BIPOC, minority, DBE, and women-owned or aspiring construction-related businesses. And then you can also become a partner. If your business is not eligible for one of those other different types, you can still support our community and by considering a partnership with us here. And that is the end of, oh, and a little bit of my contact information for those online, but everybody here can also get it after the presentation as well. Okay, so it is my great pleasure to hand it on over to Corey Murphy. And he's virtual.
All right, so let's see if y'all can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay.
His video?
We can hear you.
Yeah, can you see me okay? It's pouring down rain. It's pouring down rain here. Okay. So I'm not gonna be in front of your or on the screen very long. Partly because I'm here with my children. And so one thing I want to leave with you is a vision for more Black people and more people from underserved and disadvantaged communities to be neck deep in climate tech solutions. And I'm gonna tell you why. The main reason why is not money. It's that we have to save the planet. So if we don't save the planet, all this money and all this racism stuff, it's gonna be a moot point. So we should all figure out, I hope that we could all figure out how to work together to find solutions so that all of our families and our neighborhoods and our communities can thrive and live in healthy ecosystems in the future. I'm talking about my kids' kids, your kids' kids, and beyond. And so the number one reason why there should be a greater vision and more Black people, more women, more people of color in climate tech solutions is because climate change is the number one threat to humanity, and it is increasing exponentially. Now, when you throw on top,
I immediately noticed
extraction,
there was a small party
when you throw on top,
I hadn't expected. I had hoped for a
I don't know, is this me?
where Igor would be impressed by my gregarious.
Oh.
Hold on, I'm not sure what's going on. I was trying to flow with that.
You were doing good.
In
I was about
conversation.
to get with it though. But okay. But so here's what I'm saying. When you pile on economic extraction and environmental racism, now it shows you the great hill that people of color have to climb in this country in order to really get in the game. Because the truth is that people want to get in the game. A lot of times we just don't know how, or don't trust the people who are showing us how. And so I'm glad to be able to be here with the partners, with Leanna from PBMG and with Joe at Virtue Lab and our folks from Portland and the city of Portland, because this whole crisis requires all of us to get in the game. I left my job about a year ago this month. I can't believe I'm still surviving, but I am. But I did it because I knew and I wanted to dedicate the rest of my life to getting as many people in the game of climate change as possible. And not just talking about it, but finding the solutions, working together to find the technologies so that we can actually mitigate some of the impact of the changing climate that we're actually feeling. Well, I mean, it's sunny here, but you know what I'm talking about. And so lastly, I will say this, that the Northwest Accelerator is into that ecosystem. And we have some incredible partners, and our hope is to accelerate Black and underserved climate tech companies by providing tailored curriculum that's culturally relevant, trauma informed, takes into consideration the experience of the entrepreneurs, as well as the mentors and the investors. A lot of times we in these types of accelerators that mentors and investors don't need acceleration. Aha! Absolutely they do. Because we have the extraction mentality, generation, practice, so that we can build up these ecosystems. So the NWX, the Northwest Accelerator, my guy CJ's in the building. Tap him, talk to him. But the truth is that I really, I'm not gonna say I'm missing y'all because it's kind of, it's 80 degrees out here. I got a hoodie on just to show y'all I'm kind of vibing with you. But the thing is that I really appreciate those that pulled this space together. And we want to do, our organization is a nonprofit that we want to make sure that other people are knowledgeable about who's in the space, who's in that room, who's in the ecosystem, and really, coming together and finding some of these solutions that we all desperately need. So that's it. Thank you very much for your time. I'm gonna go back over here, and again, I hate to miss it, but not really. I mean, it's cool. Well, I'll catch the next one though. See you later. Thank you.
Brother. We're feeling the love, brother.
I know you are.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much, Corey. Truly, this is his only ticket to not be here. For it, just because he's in a sunny place right now, especially. But thank you so much. I mean, he's so impactful. The words and the work that NWX is quite phenomenal. And we're so fortunate to be partnered with all of our partners that are here today, bringing awareness to it. So, a man that needs, I suppose, no introduction, but is going to get a great one. He's been sitting here quietly, and I don't normally see him quiet because he's usually where I am today. So I'm going to introduce Dr. Matt Hennessy. He is the president and CEO of Professional Business Development Group, PBDG, and he is our moderator for our panel. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Leanna. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
What are you supposed to do when the president is introduced? You're supposed to stand up. No, I'm kidding. It's great to see every one of you here. I hope that you're happy to be here. Are you?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I need a little bit of noise here. Are we happy to be here? Very good. We're talking about a subject, by the way, that is so important, as Corey has mentioned, and certainly as Leanna and our panelists certainly feel as well, that this is extremely important. The number one issue for all of our lives. I want to welcome you who are here. I also want to welcome, I thought I saw at least 20 or so people who are here on Zoom this afternoon. That puts us at about 50 or so of us who are actually engaging in this very important moment. So I just want you to know we're grateful that you're here on my personal behalf, on behalf of the board and the staff of PPDG. This is important, and this is a starting point for us as we continue to endeavor to do great work in this space. Now, I know that we're on a time crunch, so I'm going to do something really important and really quick. For those of you who are in the room, we're going to start with 6 seconds to say who you are. We'll go right over to Yeti and to Sister Nicole, who make it happen for us around here administratively, both of you, each of you, and then we're coming right along the back wall.
I'm Yeti, and I'm the office coordinator for PBDG.
And without her, things don't work. Brother Corey mentioned CJ, who's going to be here doing filming and stuff like that. He's also the work partner of Brother Corey as well. And we're really glad to have him with us today. Did you want to say more about yourself? You know that was, there you go. That was quite the reason why I did that. No, I'm just messing around. I can't see your face, but. Great, good to have you. Welcome. Very good.
Hi, everyone, my name is Joey, I'm manager of vision planning and analytics, local point of firm tax strategies.
Very good.
Hi there, I'm Keegan Emmerich. I work with Element 8 Angels. We're a clean tech investment.
Hello, my name is Dr. Naya Zarati and CEO of Continuous Solutions.
Very good to see you.
Hi, we're Chapman, Global Fabricators, we build human interview. Hi, I'm Abigail Hagan Reed and I'm the project manager at Virtual. Hi, I'm Chris Ruba with the Portland Community.
Good afternoon, my name is Robin Wang, I'm on the committee of the Portland Energy Fund, and I'm also a capital advisor, working with businesses on capital.
That's the first time it's longer than 6 seconds. I'm on. Go ahead, yeah.
Dirk Larson, with the City of Portland Planning.
Kim Rose or Schmidt with Frankfurt.
Wonderful.
Todd Given, ProCAD Designs, mechanical process plumbing design consultant engineering, specializing in BIM and BDC.
I'm Deanne Larry and I manage my own residential projects.
Jay Richmond, Portland Clean Energy Fund. Leon Wolf from Virtue Lab, I'm kind of a grant session.
Portland Watson with Design Port, and we are a product research and development firm and startup incubator.
Wonderful.
Megan McShane, I'm the market coordinator at Hollywood Farmers Market in Portland.
Across from Portland, I live on the companies in climate tech and green building, so if you identify as one of those, please put me in with that list right back there. Some more information.
Hello, everyone. Benjamin Rosen, Virtue Lab, Community Engagement Manager.
Hello, Kyman Benson, PDG, Project Management Training.
Very good. I'm going to skip this group up here and then we'll go. And by the way, Kyman, if you would prepare to like give us names of all of those that are on Zoom when we get there, okay?
I am the city manager and I mean.
Very good. The gentleman who just walked in.
Oh, hello, everyone. Adrian, with Latino Builds.
Very good. Welcome. And there's a seat up here or anywhere you can find one, okay? Because we're going to be at least 2 hours. So you're not. I'm saying, look at some of your faces. What? Okay. And then at this point, we will at least let you know who these panelists are. And then, oh, I'm sorry. Let's do the, just like rapid fire, who's on Zoom. And you can just call their names out as you see them.
They can unmute themselves.
Oh.
If
Can
wanna
they be
tell them
heard?
to- Yeah,
Can they
they
be
can
heard
be
in here?
heard.
Good. You're going to have to do a little bit of pointing.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to spring this on you. I just thought it was only, yeah, I thought it was only fair that the people who are virtual should be.
While they're figuring that out, I think for the folks who are online who aren't able to hear everybody in the room, there's a really good mix of folks from community chambers like the Native American Chamber and the Portland Clean Energy Funds, investors like Virtue Lab and E8, got independent contractors, and I'm trying to see if I'm capturing everybody here. I think that's a lot of what's in the room. And so we've got a good mix. How are we doing with getting folks on?
Yeah, we can just call
We
them.
we heard the majority introducing themselves, so it was great. Thank you. Yeah.
PJT in the corner.
JT?
JT, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. This is JT. I work for Symbiop Ecological Garden Shop and Landscaping Services.
Like Craig.
Craig?
Hi there, I'm Craig Briscoe. I'm a small food entrepreneur slash architect.
Good. Really glad. No, by the way, all of you unmute yourselves and get ready. You've only got 6 seconds.
I see Lucy and.
Yes, Lucy Flores with the Philam Chamber of Commerce of Oregon and Elion International, an IT services company.
Wonderful.
Ray?
Yes, Ray Schallmeyer with the Uncle Jobson App Center LLC.
Well, it's been a while, Ray. It's good to hear your voice.
Thank you.
Is that Bren or Brienne?
Brian, Preston, Port of Portland. Nice to meet you all.
Very good.
Say Dana?
Hi, I'm Dana Hellman. I'm a program manager with the local climate consultancy, Kappa Strategies.
And I heard Nada's, is that Nada's voice I heard?
That was not his voice.
Nada, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. My name, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well, so without a picture today, but I just want to be part of this. My name is Nada Maisi. I am a program director at PBBG.
I'm sorry if I've mispronounced the name. Seiko? Oh, I'll get that right.
Seiko Kerman.
Herman Consultancy.
Hi, my name is Valerie Yunusa, and I'm a program coordinator with Seiko Kerman Consultancy.
And I see Northwest Trout Farms Incorporated.
Hi, my name is Dennis Fletcher. I'm founder and CEO of Northwest Trout Farms Inc. I recognize Leon. You should remember me. It's good to see you all.
That's great.
Rose?
Hi, everyone. My name is Rose. I work for Seiko Kerman.
Janet?
Good to see you all. Janet Hammer, she, her pronouns. I'm with the City of Portland, leading the Clean Industry Hub initiative startup.
Very good.
And just 2 more. Justin?
Justin?
Justin. Justin.
I think it might be going. No.
Right.
Okay.
It was like Bueller. If you know anything about it. Okay, I'm dating myself, I'm sure. Who is the last person?
Oh, he said hi. Shaq.
Okay, very good.
Okay, Joselito, yeah.
Hello, Joselito Tenega Paco, Filipino American Chamber of Commerce of Oregon. Thank you for having us here. The climate could be much warmer today. I'm willing to learn everything about climate. Leanna, thank you for all your help. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, everybody. Let's
go to the next topic. We're going to put the QR code up one more time, and it's for you guys to log in. So if you can do the QR code and log into the system. We're not polling yet, but we want you to be prepared for when we say go. So get a picture of that QR code, log in right now, and we'll leave it up there a little while Dr. Hennessy continues.
Thank you, Leanna. I appreciate that and really appreciate your leadership in this regard as well. While you're doing that, I'd like to have the panelists introduce themselves, and then we're going to get right into our questions, okay? And we'll start with Joe.
I'm Joe Brickman. I'm Deputy Director and Director of Impact Strategy at Virtue Lab. We are a nonprofit that's focused on addressing the climate crisis. The way we do that is by making early stage investments in climate solutions and providing wraparound support to those companies to help them be successful. I'm super excited to partner with all of these organizations, the Community Economic Chamber, Community Economic Coalition, Port of Portland, Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, City of Portland's Prosper Portland. It's just a great group, PBDG and NWX. We're all really passionate about ensuring that more people take advantage of this huge opportunity. And so I'm really excited about the event tonight.
Yeah, great to be here with you all today, and thanks for being a part of this. My name is James Valdez. I use he, him pronouns. and I'm with the City of Portland's Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, where I work on the Portland Clean Energy Fund, along with a lot of my colleagues that you saw here. Just to clarify, the Portland Clean Energy Fund is a program that lives within the City of Portland's Planning and Sustainability Bureau. So we've been launching the program over the last about 3 or so years. And some really exciting things ahead that I'll talk about when those questions come up. And I'll get into that more. Just really, want to express thanks for PPDG for hosting us here, Prosper and Virtue Lab for putting us together, and also Northwest Accelerator. And huge thanks also to Senator Wyden and team that helped pass an amazing transformational Inflation Reduction Act that, I'm so excited. We'll get into more content here in a little bit, but I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you. I just got teed up very nicely. Thank you so much. No, it's a true honor to be here on behalf of Senator Ron Wyden and our office. I'm Grace Stratton, she, her pronouns. I'm one of Senator Wyden's field representatives. I'm based in the Portland office. For those who don't know, field representatives, we are the eyes, ears, the arms of the senator at all times. But most importantly, when he's working on major things in DC, like getting some of the massive climate provisions we're able to secure in the Inflation Reduction Act, also known as IRA, not to be confused with other programs, we are helping try and make that connection to what this means for Oregon, for you all here in this room, and for the state and our local municipalities. So I do want to also acknowledge all the partners here, because I think that while a lot of what I have to share today is going to be large numbers, big sort of broad opportunities, it's the folks in this room here that are helping organize this that are really going to be so crucial for ensuring that those dollars truly get to where Corey and I know CJ with Northwest Accelerator are really trying to talk about the folks most impacted by climate, right? So as we're part of talking about solutions to that, it should also include those very communities. There's some pieces within the bill that included, addressing issues at the community level. But I think what's most important, again, is allowing for businesses that are more representative of those communities to actually come up with the solutions and create those opportunities. Because there's no doubt this is some of the largest investments in history around climate solutions that we are looking at right now. So huge opportunity coming down. And I'm just really honored to be here and hopefully help support the great work happening here locally.
So wonderful. Thank you very much. Leanna, was there anything else you wanted to say before we get started?
Absolutely not. For those of you, I didn't really introduce myself, but I am Leanna Petrone, and I am a director here at PPDG, and my focus is on business foundations and clean energy. So glad to be here.
So if I can ask everybody to now give a wonderful round of applause to everybody here and everybody. I'm really excited about this as from PPDG perspective, and this is what we see as the first of many, and that as we continue to do our work together, it's not just about what's possible, it's about what we're doing. And that's going to be really the magic of it all. And we thank you for that. So I'm going to share now with the panel and give them opportunities to respond to some questions that we already have. And if there are questions that you have, I want you to write yours down. And there'll be a moment where we may get the opportunity to get to that. I just want you to know. You will be stopped at some points, as I understand it, so that you can weigh in on a poll. That's why Leanna was making sure that as many of you who can have used the app so that you can participate that way. Okay, and that's everybody. So we're really grateful. How about this? Yes.
I just want to mention the results of the live polling are on the screen, so everybody can reference sort of the responses and how people think about each question.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I've got a list of questions here. The first question is really, as we look at these panelists and think about where we are in 2022. Let me just have a small commercial for Prosper Portland, where I served as the chair of the board for a few years. Oh, did I? Was that my outside voice? I was supposed to say something about the questions, right? So I just wanted to say I love Prosper Portland. Are there Prosper Portland people in the room? or something like that? Is that- I'm like, wait, I expected y'all to say something. Don't just sit, this isn't like church, it really isn't. Okay. Yeah. There you go, absolutely. What were the business opportunities in the climate solution sector 5 years ago? If we think back 5 years ago, what were the business opportunities in the climate solution sector back then? Secondly, who was taking advantage of those opportunities? How committed was the government? And I think we can look at this in different strata, from local to state to county and federal government. How committed was the government to supporting this sector? How did the media and general public talk about the problem and solutions? And how was the market for these kind of products? So that sort of starts our conversation 5 years ago. Anybody here want to take a stab at it, whether it's Grace or Leon, are you in on this too, or is it, okay, any of you wish to speak to
Just
that?
say,
Yeah,
it was a very different landscape 5 years ago, very different, for many reasons, not least of which is the political landscape was incredibly different. We had some real headwinds, and a lot of antipathy, or decidedly against climate action and even innovation in some ways. There was a sort of a real shutdown in terms of action from particularly the federal government, and that sort of created a vacuum where state and local government needed to kind of step in. From the investors' standpoint, and we're unique in that we're a nonprofit and funded in part by government grants at the state and federal level. There was a real understanding of how resource constrained we were, and having to make small investments and little moves at that time, and without a whole lot of a sense that there was much there for companies once we were done supporting them. There wasn't very much, by comparison to today's standards, there wasn't very much venture capital available, particular to climate. Most venture capitalists were not interested in taking on the kinds of technology risks and sort of the unique nature of many climate solutions, and it just wasn't part of the vocabulary. I would say, in addition, it was a very overwhelmingly white and male space 5 years ago, and that's still very much the case, but there's a completely different attitude, I would say, within investment, attitudes within government, especially. I think 5 years ago we had one funder who was asking us about diversity, and now it's across the board, and so that gives us a lot more freedom to operate when we have more funders who are supporting us and taking aggressive moves in trying to ensure that the folks who have historically received the least support will now get a greater and greatest amount of support in response to the level of need and the level of historic underrepresentation. So very excited to see the changes that have taken place. I don't know, James, what would you want to say?
Yeah, I'll add on to that. When I think about 5 years ago, the year 2017, state level policy and kind of where I was too. Just I was living here in Portland, but I was working more on regional advocacy around energy equity and clean energy opportunities. And I wasn't with the city of Portland. And what we were kind of at the time excited about was the year previous, Oregon had passed House Bill 1547, which was our kind of 50% renewable target, and also some work on community solar, which was kind of the first real equity-centered renewable energy policy that we had really passed within Oregon. And that had targets to serve low-income people with solar through kind of larger projects that they could receive bill savings on. Also at the time, there was we were reaching the sunset or ending of some state programs that were focused on residential and business energy tax credits. The business energy tax credit, I believe, had expired by then. And the residential energy tax credit was expiring, I believe, in 2018. And I think there was a recognition within the advocacy space that the tools we had were not reaching social and racial equity goals. That tax credit-based programs that required you to have wealth to be able to then offset kind of tax investment appetite weren't an adequate tool to really reach communities of color and low-income people. There also really wasn't this conversation that we're having now about workforce equity. There was sort of a generalized assumption that green energy jobs are good and we need more of them. And that was in the landscape and then kind of the conversations, but not really who's doing the work. And I mean, there's a quote that I don't know exactly who to attribute it to now because I've heard it from a few different places, but I'll repeat it here, which is, you know, the clean energy transition is inevitable, but justice is not. If we don't proactively do things to address systemic racism and inequities in our culture and system, then we'll just replicate the same patterns of investment and exclusion that we've had before. And I guess where I'll kind of end my part and transition is that in 2017, that was also kind of right when the conversations here in Portland within frontline organizations were happening, seeing that landscape of, you know, programs not serving people of color and low-income people that really laid the groundwork for starting the ballot initiative for the Portland Clean Energy Fund. And that was when that first work happened, because there was not federal action. There was a kind of recognition that if there was going to be change, it was going to happen at the local level. And so even though there was excitement about some of the state policies that directed utilities to, you know, do more large scale acquisition of renewables, and that was definitely a win, there still wasn't much happening at kind of the local level. And so that's kind of the garden in which PSEF frontline communities came together and started organizing to put together a ballot initiative for the November 2018 ballot. And I can talk more about kind of what it became from then. But yeah, that's kind of where we were 5 years ago.
That's good. Grace?
I don't have much to add. I mean, everyone's alluded to it here. For those who've tried to bury it in your memory where we were at in 2017, I was with Senator Wyden's office. We were barely hanging on to just basic regulations and executive orders that were put in place, which weren't even going as far as we're wanting to go now, right? So, I mean, you can imagine just how hard that was in the struggle. So elections matter. Elections matter. Budgets continuously were very intentional in cutting one of the main areas that I think are important in development and research, which is really where it leads to these innovations and technology opportunities. And that was continuously slashed every year under the former administration. So that's kind of where we're at. But I do, and I appreciate that the folks here locally took a moment to talk about what they were doing locally, because there was good things happening in Oregon. We were continuously being a leader. There were good things happening here in Portland and in Multnomah County. And I know that folks were probably getting some grants here and there, but the mission and vision, at least coming from the administration, even within Congress, right? We weren't in the same Congress as Senator Wyden and Senator Merkley and others sitting now. There just wasn't a conversation. It was literally just trying to keep things held together as best we could. But in the local side, for me and with other field reps and with the senator, we knew the conversations were shifting back toward a way that was going to think more forward, right? And Senator Wyden had introduced his Clean Act bill that included the key tax provisions, which were now eventually included in the larger package of IRA. Years ago. I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time. So it wasn't that we were sitting back and just, you know, waiting for next administration. There were bills introduced on the floor on a continuous basis, just ready for that shift that's now happened. And now here we are with this huge opportunity. So yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction. So let's get to the next forward moving. I like that. I like that conversation.
To talk about business development in terms of our contractors. 5 years ago, they were very difficult to find a program that was catered towards the clean energy sector in itself out there. There certainly was not any programs that really catered to more culturally specific grouping of people out there. Thinking about, the future, and I know we'll get to that in that question, but, there wasn't awareness. There wasn't money put towards it. They hadn't been developed yet. So it was definitely a point of businesses just trying, it's feed or famine, like it was that type of kind of climate in a sense for it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, I suspect that there were people who were literally ambivalent to this whole idea. And when you think about this 5 years ago, are you leading the polling process? So I see on my paper, and I'm really, really paying close attention to my paper, that this is a moment for us to potentially have a polling opportunity. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. So we
Tell us what
went
to do.
through a couple questions in the polling, and let me kind of review some of the results here. So the people in the chat and that are active in the polling are saying that the sectors that are more interesting right now are circular economy business models.
Are they going future? Are they talking about the future and they're not talking about 5 years ago?
5 years ago, no. So the other thing that I wanted to share with everybody is that they're new into the environmental and climate tech sector.
Okay.
Most of the participants here at the room and also in the Zoom. So this is great information for them as it's coming.
Good.
And yeah, everybody's excited. They're sharing about the opportunities. They want to learn a little bit about justice and some other things that have been shared in the screen.
Wonderful. No, that's great. Thank you so much. What is different today? Some of you have alluded to this already, that, 5 years ago, there wasn't this as it relate, even if you were talking about climate justice, it wasn't workforce, it wasn't, the equity among people and things like that. As I look at the questions, it's what's different today, what federal, state, and local commitments have been made that create a difference, like Justice 40, or anything else that you want to add. So since we started with Joe before, James, we'll start with you.
All right. Yeah, I mean, there's so much different today. And, I guess also maybe just to go back to the previous question, there's also a few kind of technology things that were very different 5 years ago than where I see them right now. And I think this goes into what are potentially some business opportunities or new areas. I mean, energy storage was in a much different place 5 years ago than it is today in terms of battery technologies or interactivity of energy management within people's homes and businesses. Some technologies had already been definitely invented, like, heat pump water heaters and ductless heat pumps were already on the market 5 years ago, but they hadn't evolved kind of to where they are now in terms of usability, reliability, and kind of market awareness. And so there's a lot of tools that address kind of energy efficiency and climate that just were at a slightly different place 5 years ago, that I think it's been really exciting, and it's taken the research and development and investment and kind of adoption to make those really kind of the opportunity that they are now. And yeah, I mean, where we are now in terms of policy is just a world different. At the state level, House Bill 2021 passed last year, and it's 100% clean target for Oregon, getting all fossil fuels basically out of our power mix, also making significant investments in energy efficiency and directing utilities to really look at the kind of landscape of where they build things and where they make investments in community. This was very different than before. Within our programs here, within Portland Clean Energy Fund, I mean, we're now in operation, so to speak. The ballot initiative passed in 2018 with over 65% of voters in Portland passing it and really creating a transformative fund that's a long-term resource for climate and social equity and addressing systemic racism within the city. And so we've done 2 major rounds of grant funding, totaling about $116 million total, and are supporting dozens of organizations in implementing their visions out in the community to improve people's homes, to make major retrofits of buildings, to do some new affordable housing construction, to do regenerative agriculture and green infrastructure projects throughout the city, and also to do workforce training and contractor development programs. And so that will continue and is just a core part of what we'll continue to do. But, as of today, as of actually just about 4 hours ago, I'm happy to report that there's also been a city council vote on a program evolution that we're really excited about. And so want to celebrate that win. And yeah, it's just a really kind of momentous day and good timing, good timing to have this conversation. Because where we are now is really going to be launching into a process of looking at the total resources that we have within the fund, which is significant, and planning that out over a 5-year horizon through something that right now at least is called the climate investment plans. And so that'll be a process that we really want to get feedback and input from all of you to help shape that. And so we'll be doing public engagement, and workforce is definitely part of that. The organizations and companies that can help support contractors get into the businesses and into the field are going to be really important, as well as determining kind of where we put different buckets of funding or develop strategic initiatives to address both climate and equity issues within the city. And so there's a whole framework that I can point you towards and maybe send some follow-up information about that Commissioner Rubio's leadership really helped develop in conjunction with stakeholder input and input from the organizations that helped create PSEF. But we're in a very different place with the fund too, in that the reality, and maybe just to get kind of big overview, is that the source of revenue for the Portland Clean Energy Fund is a 1% surcharge on the business activities of very large corporations that do retail sales within Portland. And without naming names, it's the largest businesses you can think of. And I think one reality is that during the pandemic, some of those businesses have done very well. And so that has led to more revenue into the fund than was initially expected by the advocates. And so that gives us really an opportunity to be strategic about how we then invest that over the next 5 years and then, into perpetuity. These climate investment plans will be kind of a regular piece of our program. And so, yeah, as I'm here today with you all to share this news, I'm just really excited about this program evolution, where we're headed, and the ability to really get even more resources out in the community to meet the city's climate goals, and also to really build a diverse and representative workforce. So, yeah, and also to leverage all the amazing things in the Inflation Reduction Act, the Infrastructure Act that have just come our way over the last few months. So.
Grace, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I can jump in. I mean, I'm going to try and summarize this as briefly as possible, but I think one statement that I've heard Senator White in our office use that I think is really helpful for everybody just to keep in the back of your mind is that clean energy solutions are going from the nice to have from a business perspective. Okay, like that's the stage that the federal government has set with this IRA and some of the climate provisions. So that's really very exciting. I mean, this is the most robust investment. Like I said, it was a top priority for our current Congress. It included, like I said, those provisions around tax changes. So whereas before tax benefits were going to all the dirty fuels and other energies that aren't really helping address climate change and the solutions we need, Senator Ryan got rid of all of those tax breaks, and now it's all focused directly into clean energy, clean transportation, and other development. So that's just a very high level summary, and I can send more details about the bill and what he was able to provide in there. But on top of all that, we're looking at major investments. So quickly, we're looking at $60 billion in manufacturing for solar panels, batteries, and other clean energy technologies in the United States specifically. There's also, I think it's worth mentioning, because I know we've got a couple different sectors in the room, and I'm going to highlight a couple programs because depending on which area you are interested in, again, going from the nice to have, there is more investment now going in, like I said, the solar panel manufacturing, components of EV batteries, for example. So not just electric vehicle batteries themselves, but components as well. I just think that, again, this is where the business sector and the opportunity for you all to really think about where is a place to sort of to hone in on is going to be centered around some of these larger, big numbers, as I'm saying them. Home energy rebate programs for low-income families for the first time, $9 billion invested in that kind of a program. So we're also broadening the number of folks that have access to these kinds of clean energy solutions. It's not only good for their health and their overall well-being, but also good for the business opportunities that we're trying to highlight here. Another provision I thought was of interest, actually two I want to mention. One, Senator Wyden worked really hard to include, will allow state and local governments as well as nonprofits to access the full value of clean energy tax benefits as well. So we're talking about your local school district might want to get some electric buses, right? And I was just working with Centennial School District on actually a grant they're going for this exact thing. They demonstrate exactly why it's so important for their population, their community, but also in the long term, that's going to be yet another opportunity for local contractors and partnerships to come alongside the school district. So whereas before that wasn't, it was much more competitive, harder to get access to, Senator Wyden created that provision to make sure there was more access to that. So, you know, you're looking at your local governments, you're looking at your schools getting access to this. And this is, you know, out over the next 10 years, government's going to be providing these subsidies for clean energy technologies, specifically in research, which I mentioned is a really key investment here, along with construction. So it's not just we have to have this, but there's going to be the investment in actual research and development and the construction of these pieces as well. For startup businesses, this is getting a little wonky in the tax space, but I wanted to mention it. I'm going to try and summarize it as best I can, but I thought it was a really important piece. A qualified business can now apply for an additional $250,000 for R&D tax credits against the employer's Medicare payroll tax liability. So again, more opportunity, and why this is specific and helpful for startup businesses, which they define here as 5 million in gross receipts in the current tax year or less. You know, we know that with R&D tax credits against employer tax roll, it's important because, you know, this is an opportunity to enhance startup companies and also allows them to sort of jump forward in that research long before there's other tax considerations that they need to take into so that they could afford that. So it is really trying to, again, look at that intentionality behind where the funds are going to go, who has access to this kind of development. And that's one of the key things that I think IRA included. And I would be remiss not to also just give an additional shout out to Northwest Accelerator. They took advantage of a DOE grant program, the first of its kind. And that's where we didn't really get to talk about it much, but that was a federal grant and that was put out there that they took advantage of, you know. I'm not saying that grants are perfect because they're competitive and sometimes it doesn't go to Oregonians, but in this case, right in our backyard, we've got a DOE investment for a program that's going to be very intentional in working specifically with Black, Brown communities and getting access to this business sector. So I was very encouraged to see a first of its program getting funded right here in our backyard. And I'm really excited to continue to work on those kinds of opportunities as they come. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
Go ahead, James, and then we'll go to Leanna and then to Joe.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of add a piece that as we were talking about this, I just thought of, which is really that, you know, another thing that's changed is that we're in a new climate reality. You know, these things that we thought, you know, might hit us 10 or 15 years from now in terms of extreme heat waves, you know, wildfires, these are now our current reality. And that really wasn't as clear to us 5 years ago.
Yeah. And
So what I want to highlight is that some of the things in the Inflation Reduction Act and some of the projects that we're implementing through the Portland Clean Energy Fund really help address that. In particular, extreme heat and the opportunity to do whole building retrofits, to put in really efficient heat pump technology that provides both heating and cooling. And I think this is really a transformational opportunity for the region, which, you know, a lot of people don't have access to cooling. We know especially a lot of low income people and renters and people of color have not had access to cooling. But this is also an issue for workplaces. There's new workplace standards that the Oregon, was it BOLI, I guess Bureau of Labor and Industries, passed in response to the tragic heat wave event that we had in 2021 to help keep workers safe. And so as that gets implemented, there'll be a need for more cooling in commercial spaces too. And so I think as we look at kind of that landscape of making sure that we're not just adding the cheapest solution possible, but actually making things more efficient and whole systems, I think there's a huge amount of work in businesses helping support that transition. And then the other reality that we're having that we even saw this summer is wildfires and a new kind of framework for something called public safety power shutoffs that is now a reality all throughout the West, where if there's high winds, low humidity, and high temperatures, the utilities can proactively, you know, assess that risk and turn off power to big sectors of the grid, prevent a hazard from kind of turning into a wildfire. And so that also is an opportunity for resilient power systems, energy management, energy storage for both, you know, residential, as well as I think for a lot of businesses who want to be able to keep operating, even if the power is going to be interrupted for a period of time. And so it's really exciting to see that The Inflation Reduction Act has some really big opportunities and tax credits and rebates that are coming out to help people make that transition to more resilient energy system. And so, yeah, I'm a bit of an energy nerd, and so I'm very, like, I could go into the details of what it could mean for people, like redesigning the way that they use systems in their homes. But all that to say is I'm really excited, and I think from a business perspective, there's a lot of opportunities and work in that.
No, I think that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's exactly where I'm going with this. If anything, I want folks to come away with, these are big investments happening in real time. And so this is where the sector is going. This is the opportunity we have right now. So, yeah.
Excellent. Leanna, and then we'll have Joe wait.
I'll make mine kind of brief because you guys have already heard about what PBDG does. Let me make it clear that everything that we do, we are also transitioning to do that to help develop contractors in the clean energy sector. So everything from mentoring, we are partnering with all of our amazing partners, which so many of them are here in this room, not just here on this panel, to make that available. We are going to get more BIPOC communities, contractors out there and trained in a way not only for their business and how to work their business and how to do clean energy functions, but also how to retain employees, how to train employees. So we're also verging into it. It's not just that business development for the contractor themselves or the business. It is also, it spans out into their workforce and every other part of the community that it reaches. So we're doing mentoring. We will continue to, we're at a point where we're kind of looking at awareness. We're starting with awareness. What are contractors doing? How can they pivot their business model right now? What kind of other services can they add into what they're doing? Showing them the programs that are available and how we can help them to reach some of these goals and some of these actions. And the fact is, I use goal, but in reality, like James said, it is a must. So these pivots that they must take in order to be competitive in what the future is going to bring for contractors.
Joe?
There's a lot to say on what's different. So I will try my best to keep it brief, but I think, you pointed to the very significant cultural shift around awareness of climate and the very real impacts and some reckoning around what the causes have been as well. And I would say an increased awareness that the impacts are not felt equally. And then at the same time, a real reckoning with the inequities around race across the board. But then in particular, I would say as an organization, and many other organizations have been reckoning with this as well, is just thinking through not only is ensuring that the resources that are available are spread equitably, but it's imperative in order to solve the climate crisis that we shift the systems that created it. Yeah. And those systems are the same ones that created the racial inequities that we face, the extractive economies and inequitable practices that are at the root of climate crisis and racial inequity. And so we view those things as very tightly tied together, and therefore our new strategic plan is really geared toward addressing not only the causes of climate change, which is what we've historically been addressing, but also the impacts, because as we've been talking about, the impacts are very real and right now and hurting the most vulnerable communities the worst, to no cause of their own in most cases. So really thinking about what's the role that we play in shifting those systems? How do we help individuals navigate the system as it exists today, while also working with the keepers of those systems to help transform them? And I am so excited to share the panel with the Portland Clean Energy Fund and Senator Wyden's office in particular, because of the local and the federal efforts to make that possible, to make that systems change possible. So much more I could say, but
No, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Really beautiful. Why don't we take another polling break and see what we have coming in? Oh, by the way, if you're watching the time, let me just be clear. We're gonna be finished at 5:30. I'll say that again. We'll be finished at 5:30. So just, yeah, what do you see?
Perfect. So a couple of the questions that have gone through the discussion are some of the sectors that people are more interested. So as I mentioned before, circular economy, kind of here at the center, people are interested in that topic. And then the following question, what are some of the barriers you are concerned about in entering this sector? And as you can see on the screen, navigating regulations and requirements is really big within participants. Also, another thing to highlight is accessing funds to investment in the businesses. So there is opportunities to share information and to guide, participants into these areas.
Good. Well, I think this is really great, and I'm really grateful that both folks here in the room and on Zoom are the ones that are participating in the polling process, right? Good. Just as a way of understanding, for those who are here today, is there a possibility of getting this information? If I'm a participant here today, to get this information as well, or no?
Yes, most definitely. So we'll be following up with an email. We will share the recording of the Zoom session and as well as the results of the polling. And like a follow-up information with who are the panelists, who are the partners here, what are resources are available.
Great.
And poll to like if this work. So please complete the survey. It's really important for us to make our job for the following sessions better.
Wonderful. Deanne, yeah.
Can we have also a list of people?
Sure. Is that possible too? The question. Yeah, let's repeat the question for those on Zoom that may not have heard it, and then if you've got an answer for it too.
I think we would need people's permission to share. We didn't ask for permission, unfortunately, so. Definitely, if you are in Zoom and you are happy to have your information shared, you can put your LinkedIn and your name in the chat, because that will get saved with the recording. And if you're here in the room and want to share your information or access information with anyone that you've heard from, please do mingle when we're done here.
Wonderful. No, that's right. Yes.
So on the sign in, you had our contact information there. If we went on there, is there something we could put on there to give approval to you to share our information?
Absolutely, yeah. I would say, Dirk, I'm gonna deputize you to figure out how to let people know if they're okay with it, maybe initial.
So if there's an initial next to the name, if everybody can hear that, if you signed in, as you signed in, when you get the opportunity and we break, to put an initial next to your name, which will indicate that you're okay with your information being shared with everybody else.
Would it be easier to do it the other way if you're not okay with sharing it?
That might be good too. Yeah, that might be easier. You're trying to make your job easy. Okay, so here we are. Process wise, the next person who's going to answer the question first then is Grace. I'm going to ask her and the rest of the panel for the last question that's being asked, which is, what are your hopes for the next 5 years in this space that you would like to see? What are some of your hopes? And I'm going to ask each of our panelists to be no more than a paragraph so that we can be good. I mean, I'm just one of those, well, yeah, for you.
Big
Okay,
exhale.
so I was trying to, but the goal is to make sure that you hear what they have to say and not feel like, gosh, I got to get to my next appointment, right? Okay, Grace, we'll start with you.
So more innovation and creative ideas in the space on how to create clean energy solutions. And I want that innovation and that creativity again, and I think I started with this, what all of us are here for, to come from communities who are, it's more diverse. I'd like to see again the communities who are living, experiencing the disproportionate, getting a chance to actually get into these sectors and have a say and an influence in how to change. So I'm gonna tell you right now, getting AC units into homes is a quick fix, and it's not going to be the permanent that we need. I just use that as an example because that's literally, you're talking about differences. I've spent the past couple summers with Senator Wyden running around trying to figure out how we're gonna get more funding for AC units in people's homes so they can
stay cool. So moving away from all that, right? And then I did want to reflect briefly that my colleague had mentioned this, wind and solar are great. You know, we can always kind of think about these two sectors because there's been, you know, innovation and work for quite a long time in those spaces, but there is a lot of interest in new ideas to flourish in these spaces, right? And looking at creative uses of existing technologies to reduce emissions as well. So it's not necessarily 100% recreating the wheel. Let's look at what exists and how we can improve upon that as well. So that's a little bit of reflection from myself, Senator Wyden, and my colleague who was instrumental in working on some of this policy and got it into the IRAs.
Very good.
Thank you.
As panel members, do you all agree with what Grace has said?
No, absolutely, yeah.
So nobody, yeah, and so I'm gonna see this as an add-on to her paragraph, right? So you're agreeing with what she's already said, so we'll not be redundant. We'll do something new, right? Or you can just say what she said. I'm there. Go ahead, Leanne.
So I have some big goals. I have some big goals for PBDG and our outreach. I mean, we serve BIPOC communities, we serve minorities, we serve women. I want to see that all of the PBDG community is more aware of energy efficient opportunities there, but I'm going to take it one step further to say that I want all of our community to also be adding on services, programs and stuff to their already functioning amazing businesses so that they are in the future now, in 5 years. I want to see them at least make one tweak. And I want to say at least 20 businesses making that their primary focus.
Wonderful. Very good. Thank you so much. Joe?
I, yes to everything that was just said. And I think I will limit my statement to be focused on this particular workshop series since we haven't talked about it much. This is really intended to be a kickoff to a whole series of events that would follow, that where each event would be narrowly focused on one technology area or business sector that we view as being particular opportunities based on our understanding of the funding that's coming down the pipe. And so it was really important to us that you respond to the survey at the end so that we understand where the greatest interests lie. And so I'm just going to make one more plug for participating in that post-event survey, which hopefully we'll pull that one up. It's the blue slide at the end. Yeah, that's it.
Excellent.
Let us know what you want to know about.
All right. Well, I will second everything that's been said. And I guess what I'd add is, yeah, a kind of a transformation of who's doing the work in the space and a vision that a young person 5 years from now, who's a person of color or woman or an identity that is not currently in the clean energy workforce, that's shifted to where there's a clear vision and pathway of that, yes, the clean energy workforce is an inclusive space to grow and have a career, not just a job, but to like really make your life in that. And also, you know, I don't want to end on a down note, but I think it's likely that we'll have other climate catastrophes in the next 5 years. And I don't want people to die. I want the systems to be there 5 years from now to help keep people safe, to help people be able to get around and stay mobile, to be able to, yeah, ultimately have community resilience. And it's going to take a lot to get there. And so, yeah, I guess that's my vision five years from now. And we've got a lot of work ahead.
I think this, let's, by the way, give our panel just a wonderful round. As the facilitator or moderator, I don't have a right to say a lot, but since I am the moderator right now, I will say something that adds to what has already been said. My hope and prayer is that our children's schools are deeply involved in this as well, and that someone from kindergarten all the way through to high school graduation, that they are working in this sector, that they are being taught about the importance of it, about research universities around the country and the world are really saying we've got to do this work, and this work is being done And then I would want to underscore what Leanna said for us as an organization, but clearly every organization realized the importance of our work in this space in all of the ways that this has been discussed here today. Okay. Any polling you want to add to this? Information?
I think everybody's very interested in the conversation, not a lot of activity in the last one. Few things that come up. Mentors,
Yes.
people are more interested in connection to mentors. So I think new businesses would like to have a mentor there, connections to understanding the market, right? So if a business is trying to come in, what is the market out there? Is it visible? And then guidance through finance and regulations.
Yeah, that's great.
And right now we're waiting. We have 3 people responding to in few words what we'd like to cover in few sessions, because this is not the only session we're gonna have.
Right.
This is one of many.
Very good. Thank you so much. Any burning quick question or comment that anyone would like to make from the floor? Yes.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for showing up today and just bringing your knowledge, and it's really inspiring to hear from the panel. I've been in this field for about a decade now, and specifically research and development in clean tech solutions. The majority of the funding that I was able to secure was through SBIR contracts, and we've been able to develop about 10 products within that program. Right now, we are looking at, the bridge funding or securing some type of IDIQ with the federal government. But really, I guess the question, the statement is thank you, and you are all really inspiring, and it's really exciting to hear that's being discussed in person. The second is a question regarding that $60 billion in access to the research and development funds. How are they going to be facilitated, and in what vehicle?
I knew I was gonna get this question. We were talking about this. So what I've asked for from our team, and by the way, there's probably information, actually, you were mentioning like Rewire. Is it pretty high level though?
Yeah, I don't think it gets to the R&D question, but there's Rewiring America has a good explainer of some of the funding opportunities, and
I think it's pretty still high level.
Yeah.
So most of the time with these, and this is a massive bill, right? Like I didn't even talk about the provisions that when we were talking about fire, I didn't talk about ag, I didn't talk about the forest management stuff. I mean, there's tons of stuff. So where we're at right now is in a 60-day period. I'm told by my colleagues in DC that they're going to have some kind of breakdown of exactly how these dollars are going to flow. I didn't touch on it, but that IIJA bill that was passed on Senator Wyden's main website, there's a really helpful breakdown of all the programming and exactly which agency to go to then get the fund and eligible applicants, all that stuff. I'm hoping we'll have something like that with the IRA. So it's forthcoming is what I'm told. Those are the details. You're not missing on anything as far as I know. But it is a massive bill. And so that's another connection to be made here. I'm happy to be a resource for folks. A lot of people are interested in how this is going to flow. And that's going to be one of my main goals, is getting that resource out to as many folks as possible. So you know kind of how it's going to work.
See there, you knew what was on all of our minds. That was cute. Thank you so much. All right, yes, please.
So you're speaking a foreign language to me, and I'm assuming other
That's fair.
individual.
Sure.
What type of assistance is there to help us skilled service providers? I know PBD, that's their mission, but I'm sure that there's a heavy learning curve for them as well. What is the pathway to find the right partners on our level and help us to understand what we are the right fit for? Because we don't even have a clue what that means.
Leanna, do you want to speak to that or no?
Yeah, we're partnering with everybody here, and ultimately PBDG will disseminate the information to you and everything. And I work with Todd, so I can. So for that, so you got me, Todd. And in that I feel like it is kind of the funnel for PSF and so forth, to be able to get funding for organizations like PBDG to be able to provide that information and connection and so forth.
And I would say we at Virtue Lab, we're also providing support for companies. So depends a little bit on which space you're in. Absolutely, as a PBDG member, you've got a great resource in Leanna and her team. But we've worked with a lot of organizations to access federal research dollars, and there's many of the same skill sets in terms of finding the match between what you're capable of doing and what the federal government is looking for. Some of the same tools and some of the same practices apply, and we're working to build that capacity to support companies like you. So definitely reach out, and there is a link at some point in the slide deck with an QRL code for accessing our intake form for those services.
Has this been worth your time today? Are you glad that you came? I just by a show of hands, if you don't mind. Oh, great.
I know.
And if it's not,
My colleagues here.
if it's not, we understand, but where are you eating lunch tomorrow? At the Doubletree. The Doubletree, Lloyd Center, 11:30 tomorrow,
Or 11.
or 11 o'clock. You can show up at 11 o'clock if you wish, that's fine. You're welcome to show up. And by the way, just tell them Leanna sent you. All right, there you go. We're not just pocket, but we do want to see your faces, okay? Thank you all very much. Thank you for being here. We're going to be around for a little while, so feel free.
Eat some tamales.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
If you have feedback, we've got another beautiful QR code, and you can do it as you're eating tamales too.
That's right. And feel free to take with.
Okay. So thank you, everybody, for coming online and elsewise, and those that are in person. QR code, and for those in the building here, please do not use the wooden door over here that I'm pointing at to exit. Please make sure that you use the street door. Thank you so much.
Thanks so
everyone.
much.
I know I was talking with before more about what else to support each other, especially with the new. Rules.
Yes.
Normal.
We're really.
But you all are on my list for better.
Right now, yeah, it'd be great.
There's one.
He's in his capable hands.
Perfect.
As I'm running for program.
Yes, okay. When he's trying to get to money for the program.
I get it. No,
Yeah, so that's good. You gotta focus on the day-to-day. Someone's gotta be like, what's the big picture? What are we gonna like bring into the, I love that. So anyway, it was really great to meet you. And really anything we can do to help financing companies that run on like that. So, I would just look for my purse. I'm like, I don't know, like, exactly why I am here, but I'm very happy. I'm an organizer. I live in. They'll be like, yeah, whatever. Banking, environmental stuff, whatever, and then they'll be like, and this is written, co-signed, whatever, wrong line, and I'm always like,